That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The Lie. It's the sophomore film directed by Veena Sud. It actually premiered at the 2018 Toronto International Film Festival.
Oh.
It is a remake of a 2015 German film called We Monsters, directed by Sebastian Coe, which I have not seen. It is being released on Amazon Prime in conjunction with Blumhouse on October 6th. And I think it's also important to note it's one of 4 films that for the month of October, genre Blumhouse films that they're kind of releasing in succession.
Well, I liked this film. I was howling throughout because of the shenanigans that go on. The basic story is there is a 15-year-old girl named Kayla. Kayla's parents are divorced. Her dad is played by Peter Sarsgaard. And her mother's played by
Mireille Enos.
Okay. So the mom drops off Kayla at her dad's house and he's supposed to take her to like a ballet thing. So they're on their way. Mm-hmm. They live, I couldn't quite tell, but it looks like they live somewhere very snowy and cold.
In New York.
Oh, it is New York.
The license plates were...
Oh, perfect. So they live in New York. So he's taking her, it looks like maybe like a rural route, when the daughter, Kayla's like, oh my gosh, my friend is like at the bus stop, like far away. So my friend's at the bus stop, pull over, we're gonna pick her up. And the dad's like, but he does. Pick this bitch up. She says, oh, I'm also going to the ballet thing. So they're on their way.
But my asshole dad is making me take the bus, so...
She says she has to pee, so she tells the dad, pull over now. So Peter Sarsgaard pulls over, like in the middle of like the forest, and these girls get out. So they're gone for quite some time, long enough that the dad has to get out of the car and look for them. And he goes on a trek to find them when we see his daughter.
Oh, here's a scream.
And then he starts to run. We see Kayla like sitting on a bridge, like she's on the railing of the bridge, sitting as if she were gonna jump over. So of course the dad runs over, grabs her, and she tells him she pushed her friend off the bridge. So of course the dad's freaked out. He chooses not to call the police, but they get back in the car and drive to the mom's job. Now the mom is an attorney, so he rolls up into her job and she's annoyed. Clearly she's not fond of this man. She's annoyed, she's kind of bitching at him. She goes outside to see the daughter when they kind of have like a little confrontation and the dad just like, they all go back to the house. So once they're at the house, the daughter admits to the mom that she intended to kill her friend, like push her off the bridge. So the mom is freaked out. They decide at that moment that they're just gonna keep quiet about it. But then, what's the girl's name? The one who died?
Taylor.
That's her name?
Yeah.
Kayla and Taylor? Oh.
I think.
Oh, I don't know. But this girl, the friend who died, her dad shows up. And they live in a nice neighborhood, like a nice suburban neighborhood, and the dad lives close by. He comes over like, hey, is Kayla home? I need to know if she knows where my daughter is. And the mom is acting super weird. Like she doesn't want to interact with him. And she says, well, Kayla's gone with her dad to the doctor. I'll call you when they get back. But she doesn't call him, so he shows up again later that day. Like, hey, why didn't you call me? I need to talk to her. The mom's still acting weird, and that's when the dad walks out. And he's like, well, I thought your daughter was with the dad, like blah, blah, blah.
The doctors, yeah.
Then the daughter comes out, so now he's like, oh no, something's wrong. So this fool like kind of like runs after Kayla into her own house, so the dad gets to a fight with this man. So the mom, who's, keep in mind, an attorney, her bright idea is to go to a friend of hers.
An old colleague
who's a detective.
Patti Kim, Detective Tagata.
Who she basically implants this idea that there's this friend of my daughter who's missing, and my daughter told me that her dad is abusive to her, and he came to my house being aggressive, so I think you should know and maybe check in on it. So they go. The two detectives go. They immediately assume that he's like guilty of something. But cut to, they've done a little investigating and they go back to Kayla's house with her mom and her dad there. And they're like, so I'm gonna ask you again, what y'all know about this? And they're like, absolutely nothing. And good old Takasha, whatever her name is, she's like, "Are you sure? Oh, really?" Because and then she pulls out Kayla's inhaler, which they found in an area that the parents claimed she had never been in. So, you know, the film's almost done at this point, and we also get a few little details, like the detectives explain that the missing girl's cell phone had pinged the tower a day after she was reported missing. Downtown, which is where Sarsgaard lives. So these two dummies decide that the way to resolve this is they're gonna go to the missing girl's dad's house and bury the phone, like turn it on and bury it so that it pings again at his house. But the dad catches them, confronts them, they're able to get away, but as they're speeding off, the dad runs out into the street and they hit this fool, like hard. Like killed. We don't know that he's dead, but he looks like he probably is going to die. So they go back home. They begin to clean up the car because the front of her Range Rover is covered in this man's blood. They clean it off, and as soon as they're done, who walks into the garage but the missing girl? Like, "Hey y'all, is Kayla here?" And they look at her like she's a ghost. And she's like, "Oh, Kayla didn't tell you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I was just doing this because I wanted to spend time with my older boyfriend." And the mom is like, "Bitch, you just need to go home." And then the final scene is them confronting Kayla, and she basically admits to doing it because she wanted her parents back together again, and she needed something for them to be invested in. Not knowing that her parents were gonna go and like...
kill somebody.
Yeah.
And
The end. Throughout this film, which was what, like an hour? It wasn't that long. Was it like an hour 40?
Almost.
Oh, I was howling at every move. That teenage girl, like Kayla, was making me so upset. The things the parents were doing had me so frustrated, but in an entertaining way.
Yeah, even though the premise is very familiar. So Veena, this is kind of it played a little bit like a prestige project for Enos, really, because Veena Sud was a producer and director of some episodes of The Killing, which was Mireille's big deal television series from a couple years ago. It also shared the same cinematographer, Peter Wunstorf. But I have seen, there are countless films now about, and this is a remake, of white children doing something and their families doing whatever it takes to cover it up for them. There's the dinner films, which I think there are 3 versions of now. Much Ado About Nothing from Chile, and Human Capital, which I really like the Italian version by Paolo Verzi. But Peter Sarsgaard was in the American remake, playing a father that's kind of doing the same thing, which I think is interesting. That said, despite that familiarity, there's a lot to be frustrated with.
In a good way.
In a good way. I really liked the scene where the father is visiting and sees the daughter, and just the awkwardness of these people are terrible at deception. And also just like, yes, the mother is an attorney and knows kind of the ins and outs of what her daughter will face if charged with this crime. But it's like, at the same time, you're white, so it would behoove you to call the cops.
It's just, I just thought it's so, because of course we're howling like, "Oh, why would you do this? Why would you do this?" But the reality is, when faced with you don't know what you'll do, and really one wrong move begets a series of poor.
Which is what happens.
And which is what happens. So I think it doesn't seem ridiculous. It just is so frustrating. And then like the dad is clearly just like a poor decision maker.
There he is. He's kind of like this ne'er-do-well that has he manages or a rock group, or he's painted as this kind of irresponsible sort.
But drives a Subaru.
I think he was supposed to be played by somebody. They allude to his character being like devastatingly handsome, because Kayla's friend immediately is attracted to him, and then,
I mean, Peter's not bad.
No, but the parents have an argument about what were the girls arguing about? Was it over you? So they're...
Yeah, like, he's not that great.
And I think Joey King is interesting as Kayla. And there's this bad seed element of it. Like, I can't believe my daughter is acting so unaffected, and she just loved her best friend. So I liked that tension. But I think that Joey King, because she's supposed to be playing a girl that's, I don't feel like I'm pretty and blah blah blah. None of the boys at school like me. But this part would have been probably better for somebody a little less, because she is a pretty girl. Like, I mean,
think she fit the role, but go ahead.
No,
go off, sis.
I would have been more interested to see this as being like some girl that clearly is having more struggles in a lot more departments than she does.
Okay.
And I don't know.
You're a very kind man.
Some days.
She did a very good job making me wish that, because there's a scene where she's like having trouble breathing because she has like respiratory issues, and like I'm just like, let her suffocate on the swing. Like, I was so frustrated with her. So very, very effective. I would give this film 3.5 out of 5 stars. The only reason I wouldn't rate it higher is what you said initially. Like, it does, even though I didn't know it was a remake, it feels like something that, didn't I say it felt like something that's been done before in another language?
Yes, and it has. Yeah. I do really like the twist that does kind of give this a fresh take on these kind of narratives. Mireille, I guess I never really stared at her. I think the last thing I remember seeing her in was Sabotage with Schwarzenegger, where she's very over the top.
The detective?
Yeah, no, Mireille Enos.
Oh, the one who reminds me of Faye Dunaway.
That's what I was going to bring up. Like, and after you said that, I couldn't stop thinking it. She does have, beautiful face structure, and she's very. I like watching her on screen. Yeah. I also like Patti Kim as Detective Tagata. I liked her energy a lot.
Yeah, I could picture her in like a mini series.
Mm-hmm. And the original title for this was Between Earth and Sky.
I like The Lie better.
The Lie fits better, but it is so simple.
Well, because I assumed that The Lie meant the parents covering up for their daughter.
That's true, but it's not.
So it really, I mean, it's very basic and obvious, but I think it fits well because that's not the only lie.
That's true. But I don't know. It's an ethical genre film, if you will. When you synonymous with Blumhouse and Halloween, I don't know if it really fits that bill, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. What would you give it?
3.5 out of 5.
All right, bye.
Bye.